Okay, we're doing another co-working stream late at night here. It's 10:43 my time. We're going to be doing stuff into the night, doing a lot of code, catching up. Co-working streams are messy. Make sure you read the disclaimer and go do something else if you want to. It's designed to be, most people just put it on in the background while they're working on something else. Maybe they'll hear something, they'll get an idea for something, and they just want some white noise, an old guy ranting in the background. So just know that that's what you're getting into. I have to put that disclaimer on the beginning of every video, otherwise people leave me bad comments. Please don't leave me bad comments. It makes me sad. So we need to do some cleanup here. We already finished the kubectl kubeconf tool for showing that's already done, and we moved the entire kubeconf library into its own package. So now we can do we can install that plugin as a standalone, or we can do whatever we want to with it. We now need to use that package in our kubectl-login program. So, and another thing we need to do is let's actually add some issues here. Let's look at the open issues on this ticket. So issue, we can say add GitHub action to build plugin. So we did that last time, so that's all good to go. Oh wait, all right, just a second here. Issue, I forgot to do that. Add GitHub Golang build action, build and release action. All right, I'm gonna add that. So we're gonna learn. I know how to do actions now. Mine are not as good as others. I did my first one on Friday last co-working stream. I'm super happy about that. So it's at the tail end of the last co-working stream. It's my first ever action. It was me struggling through how to do it, and we eventually got it to work. And so that's all done. I just have to copy those files over. So that should go pretty quickly once we have something to build. We're going to be getting rid of this build script. We're not going to use this anymore. We're going to use Go Releaser instead. So that is an issue. I'm putting stuff in the issues list so I don't forget to do it. We need to factor out another issue. We need to delete internal /kubeconf and use standalone pkg. So we already made a package for this, so we need to move to using that. And we need to we need to clean up all the other stuff. So this is our issues list. This is the stuff we need to work on, and we're going to do that. Okay, so let's get to it. First of all, let's fire up a TMUX session here so I can stay in the same place. We're going to start ripping stuff up. I already have a branch, so I'm going to keep it all in the same branch. I don't think I need to make a new branch for this. Yeah. All right, so we're going to say git. What else do we need to do? We need to make sure we don't have any other references to kubeconf. Go test is probably going to fail now because it's trying to use the other one. Yep. So yeah, we're going to have to fix that. Just drop this kubeconf dependency. Wait. Actually, no, that's going to need to change to this instead. We're going to change that to kubeconf. That's fine. It doesn't know about it yet, though, so we should probably do a go get on that. Go get -u give.com or xrob kubectl kubeconf. Yeah, and frankly, the thing that we want to get is actually the package name is kubeconf. It's not kubectl kubeconf. So, yeah, that should work. There we go. Version 0.16. It might not work because my network is still a problem. I haven't fixed it yet. There we go. So This is kind of interesting to read because this does show you all the dependencies that kubeconf incurred by using the standard client-go, right? So it brought in GoFuzz, and Mergo is this, this is the one that's caused problems in the past. What the hell is Mergo, by the way? What is it? I really want to go just check it out. Give me a second here. Active Directory. GH repo clone. Mergo. What is Mergo? Let's go read it. Oh my god. Oh my god. What a crappy package. Why would they add issues at the top level for testing like that? Oh my god. This is so bad. Workflows. There we go. A helper to merge structs and maps in Golang. Useful for configuring default values, avoiding messy if statements. Merges same type structs and maps by setting default values in 0 fields. Mergo won't merge unexported private fields. It will do recursively and exporting when it also will merge structs. So this is how, damn. Oh my god. It is ready for production. It's used in several projects by Docker, blah, blah, blah. What I want to know is how did this shitty project get used by so many important projects? It's absolutely horrible. I don't know what to say. No wonder. In fact, they locked it down. All these people are using it. That is so horrible. It's so horrible. Why are they using this thing? I'm sorry. I have to look at this developer and see why this developer is getting so much pull. I have to see. It's driving me nuts. I mean, there's already been a huge problem with this. Oh my god. Simple structs and maps merging for Go. He must have been one of the first persons to have it. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Look at how popular this one library is, man. Merging Go structs and maps. That's why. It was one of the it was like literally one of the very first Go projects in the world. This is somebody who early adopted Go. It's just like Cobra. Cobra is shit. It's absolute shit. But it was the only thing around. So it became the thing that's like Betamax got outwon by VHS. I mean, I don't know what to say. Anybody who thinks that this is a good idea to stuff a bunch of issue Go code in their top level, really? I don't know what to say to that. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? They even made like oh my god, whatever. Also, they put a vanity URL for the thing, and they probably have a Go. I'm sorry, I have to look at this. I wouldn't be me if I didn't. Go mod. Oh, thank God. Oh no. They defined the module name as dario.cat.mergo as opposed to using GitHub. Let's hope that domain name doesn't go away. God. I mean, there's so many mistakes, but everybody's using it, so it must be good. Deepsource.toml. I mean, what it does is actually needed, right? what it does is needed. It's combining, it's like taking a bunch of structs that have the same name and making them all into one. So that's probably why it's working. Oh my God, please tell me it's not user reflection. It is user reflection. You gotta be kidding me. It's using reflection to combine structs together. If you're using this, shame on you. No, just no. You don't need this. Not in 2023. You could probably get away with using generics without any of this in here. No. Oh my God. Okay, well now I know it exists. I know not to use it ever. And that's all. I'll stop complaining now. It's also the thing that broke, right? So kubectl had locked down a specific version of Mergo because they had a breaking change and they didn't do the major version release, and that was actually an issue in kubectl in the client command package that has a core dependency on Mergo. So that's one of the reasons to not use that, even though we went ahead and used it anyway, because of that breaking dependency, right? But there's a lot of other stuff that have breaking dependencies on it as well, so we're going to go ahead and use it. These are all standard-ish packages. Protobuf, of course, is standard. Klog. Oh, this might be the way that we want to do our logging. That might be the way to do our error messages. We might want to switch shift to klog for our error messages, and k.o utils. So anyway, we didn't bring in a lot of dependencies for this. Wait, what? What is it? What is this? What is there an extended package for time? What is that? What is that? Oh. I don't remember that one. Where's the source for that? Going over X that time. What is this? This is official. Look at this. This is a new extended module in Go. I want to look at what it is. I'm gonna have to search for it. You know what? I can probably get away with this. Golang. I want to see what it is because it's like, yeah. Repository supplemental Go packages. Golang over X time Go packages. Is this a Git repo? Oh, it's a Google thing. Open source Google. It's Google. It looks like Google released it. What is it? Golang Go issues. GitHub Golang Go. So wait, do I have that? Is that already under the X? I think it is. Yeah. This is going to take forever. I'm going to do it anyway. GH clone. Golang Go. I think it's under there. Clone, repo clone. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get all of the Go source code. And we're going to go read it. It's actually very instructive to go read the Go source code. It takes me forever to do anything because I have to read about stuff before I use it. I mean, there's really nothing in here to read, so rate packages. Oh, here we go. What's the purpose of passing context to wait? That's obvious. Oh, time is in time it. See how long it takes. Limiter that allows 3 requests per second. It must be for the test package. Yeah. The reason I think it's interesting is because there's an x/time and then there's a time. I'm like, what is the difference? So I really want to know the difference. For them to put a package into X, that means that they probably broke out a bunch of stuff that was in the time package, or just they're destined for the standard time package, and they put it in X/time instead. That's where they put things that are sort of like they want to keep them, but they don't want to commit. You know, so that's where they would put that. But I think that they're all generally their own repos. So I'm going to try to find them. Golang XOR go list. Find name time. Oh, whoops. That go. Time that go. So what have we got here? It's not there. I don't know where the source is. Time rate. What's the purpose of passing context? Time package. I don't know how to clone it. I don't know where its source code is. GitHub repo for go X time. Golang /time. Go supplementary time package. Supplementary time package. There we go. That's the one. All right, so it's not in the Go thing. That's the whole point. It's not in the standard Go library. So let's do gh clone repo clone. Golang /time. And let's go check it. README is just like whatever supplementary repos. Rate. Time/rate is the only thing. You kidding me? Why do they have patents in here? What the hell is that about? IP rights grants for patents. That's interesting. That's because the BSD license does not grant patents and Apache does. That's because the BSD license is inferior to the Apache 2 license. Yes, in terms of like giving over permissions for the companies will want to see. They give it up. That's cool. That's interesting. That's interesting. I have to make a set about that. Golang project started adding patents. File 2 releases. Looks like the Golang project finally realized that the Apache 2.0 license is superior to the BSD license they use because they have explicitly granted patent rights as Apache 2.0 already does by adding yet another file to the release source library repos for. Yeah, I'm gonna actually pull it in. I'm gonna pull it in. Yep. Here's the full text for reference. Let's see. CMT. There we go. So that's interesting. It's worth making a note of that. All right, so we got this too. Back to where we were. Tmux We are spelunking in Golang. Golang time. See, get out.com. Whoops. Golang time. And apparently there's only rate here. So we're going to look at the tests. Please let them have example tests. Nope. Shitty tests. If limit of 10 is infrastructure limit 10, it doesn't give you any information about how to use it. Test every limit 10, limit. Oh, okay. I'm just going to read the doc. Go doc. So it has, per package rate provides rate limiters. Interesting. So, like 1 per second or something like that. This is interesting because we need to add rate limiting to our API at work. And that's why I'm looking into it, because we need to add it, and there's a package for it now. So, so you can have 1 every whatever amount of time reservation sometimes. I'm going to make a Z about this. The Golang time rate package. Yeah. Looks like this extra package got a bump in tag to an official number and is getting use out there. Might be worth a look to add rate limiting to platform engineering API development projects. Go doc. Yep. So we're just going to do that. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. Hey, Porceville. Yeah, we use Apogee. Yeah, I don't mind saying we use Apogee. It's got problems, but, you know, it's usable. Yeah, Apogee's got rate limiting built in if you come through Apogee. Yeah, but sometimes you have a piece in your API that doesn't go through the core gateway. Apogee, yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of complaints about Apogee. The guy that I've been working with, he's been fighting with it more than me. He has nothing good to say. He's always, but we have to use it. That's kind of the enterprise approach to it. So anyway, that was fun. Why did I do that? Because we wanted to see all of the deps that I just pulled in. I just pulled in a bunch of deps by building a dependency on kubectl like that. So when I do this, I should actually resolve kubectl. Kubectl. Let's see if that actually sticks. Yep. Okay. So we factored out our main kubectl library into its own package. It's its own package module on GitHub. The rest of the stuff is all clean and good to go. I think that is the major factoring that we needed to do, because there's nobody calling in kubectl from any other place. So git status. I'm pretty sure that that's going to be enough to fulfill that commit. Doc.go. Wait, what? Oh, we deleted it. Never mind. I think that's it. Yeah. All right. So we have kubectl context. Oh, wait, we don't need that. No, that's not going to work at all, actually. All right, we need to fix all of this. I just realized we have a totally different thing. So kubeconf.dir, we don't actually, grabbing the directory like this is a huge mistake. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to make a directory if there isn't one. No. So that needs to be fixed. Don't create a directory unless there is nothing to load. So that's some code. We might have to rip, you know what? I am going to rip this code out and just start from scratch. Because so much of this code is going to change that I'm just going to turn it off for now. Because we need to test it. So, do we need to set the flags to turn off logging? Yes. And what? We need to do some other stuff here. So, first thing we need to do is load the existing kubeconfig. And that's a new thing now that we didn't have before. So we could say kconf. We could say kconf equals kubeconf.load. And this is, seriously, this is like, you know, it's a big deal. Oops, we got an error to hand off to. So if error, we're going to go ahead and log dot fatal. Yeah, if we can't load the kubeconf, we have a fatal error. Now, I don't know what happens if we don't actually have a file at all. So that's one of the reasons I want to test this. So let's actually just go for it. Yeah, we're just going to go install. I mean, I'm definitely going to break it while I'm doing this, but another thing too is that this is a main package. This is a top level package. So never mind. I think we're going to keep it that way. We want the plugin to be a standalone on the top level. So the built-in the disks are going to go away, but that's a different task. Okay, so we'll just do go install for now. Kconf declared not used. Ugh. Okay, fine. You know again about this trick? You just assign kconf to something and it'll shut up those errors. Okay, so k login, and it didn't do anything. It didn't throw an error either. That's interesting. Actually, let's dump it, shall we? So kconf dot print. Yeah, let's do that. Go install k login. All right, so that grabbed those stuff. Now let's break it on purpose. So we're going to move the kube config out of the way so there's nothing to configure. And moving it into temp. It should like do something. There we go. All right, so by default, kubeconfig load will always return a successful thing. In fact, it very rarely will give you an error. Let's actually make it give an error though. So I'm going to move temp config back into here and I'm going to break it. I want to see how fatal I can make it. One thing I know is very fatal is having two clusters with the same name or anything actually. So we're going to have another cluster here. We'll make this name also dev. The reason I know that is because you can't even run kubectl without it crashing. Get context. What? That should not have worked. Get clusters. That should not have worked either. Wait, never mind. It did blow up. Good. It did what I wanted to. Error loading config file. You have duplicates in there. All right. So that did throw the error message. That's good to know. That's really, really good to know. All right. So I wanted to see if I could break it, and I broke it. So I'm going to unbreak it now. And it's still going to print them out there, but yeah. So yeah. Actually, no. I need to break it again. Because I only checked it from kubectl. I didn't check it from the plugin call. Actually, it's going to choke before it even gets to the line that calls the plugin, but I want to see that happen. Yeah, so if I do... So that blows up, yeah? But if I do... plugin, I want to see if the plugin skips the error or not, or if I have to trap the error. So if I do login... Okay, it gave an error, but what gave the error? Did kubectl throw the error before it called the plugin? Or did the plugin error loading config file, error converting, blah, 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 duplicate dev? All right, so it never even got to the plugin. Nope, it didn't. It didn't even get to the part where it got to run the plugin. Okay, so that's good, even though that trap of error is really never going to happen based on what we know. It's still fine to have it there. You know, there we go. And there's the conf dumped. That's exactly what the kubeconfig plugin does. And you discover the fault on the XP pull at work. Yeah. 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 Anyway, so here we go. We've got our conf going on. So now what are we going to do with it? We need to... So if... Actually... What we need to do is to check to see whether... This is interesting. Because if I move the conf... I mean, under what conditions can I detect whether there's an actual config file, not other short of checking for the file, right? So if we're going to do this right, because, you know, I know I'm being a little bit, you know, pedantic on this, but this is the right thing to do. So if kubeconfig loads but returns no clusters, no preferences, basically this here is the equivalent of a zero value. But they didn't build zero values into the kubeconf object itself, the config object itself. So I'm actually going to add it to the package. If one server gets degraded in all the pool. Oh, damn. Yeah. I'm not an XCP fan. I know. I'm just going to use just the virtual machine. I'd like to remove as many layers of tech as I can. So what we need, my friends, we need to be able to do this. We need to be able to say if kconfig, right, dot is zero value, right, then do something. And this is a common idiom from time and stuff like that. You use VMware? Yeah. So we need to have is zero value. So Go has this idea of zero values. That means uninitialized, empty things. And for some reason, the zero value for a client command API.config, the Kubernetes resource object, is this. Now, that doesn't tell me, it tells me that there are no files. This is a zero value. So as a utility, I'm actually going to switch gears for a bit. I'm going to add this to the function. So the only way for us to know whether or not we need to make a file is to know when we call kubeconfig load whether it's a 0 value or not. In other words, is it just empty, or were there actually files there, right? If we load it, so we need to figure out what that looks like. We need to say, okay, do these all have to be empty, or do we just say that none of these? If we had even one value here, this thing would be populated and it would say it loaded from file. It would have file location of origin, and we would have a file, right? Location of origin would either be a URL or a file. I think you can actually load over the internet. But this is a default 0 value. This is an empty one, right? So we need to detect an empty value. And an empty value is preferences nil, you know, it's actually not nil, right? So we need to actually have is 0. Now I'm going to use a convention from the Go time library that is the closest thing to a convention that we have, to check whether a structure is initialized, whether it's in its 0 state. And we have this in the Go time library. We have something called is 0 value or is 0 or something. And I am trying to find it right now. It's probably faster to do an internet search. Let me see. Layout is 0. Because 0 value for a time is not what you think, right? It's a text field. Golang 0 value for time is 0. There we go. Boolean is 0. That's what we want. All right, so we're going to use that same convention, and we're going to call it is 0. If kconfig is 0, then create a new default .cube config file. All right. So that's super important because we don't, you know. So I have to actually do that, which means the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change to this, and I'm going to test it here. So I'm going to use that other package. Let me show you. So I'm going to change something in a package that is not public. So this is a classic use of Go work. One of the greatest things they added to 1.18 I must say 18 or 19. You have to have Go work. Without it, you're just screwed. So we're going to go into kubeconf, and we're going to actually change this. So this is an example of multi-package development, simultaneous multi-package development that Go work was built to fix because of this, what I'm about to do. So I'm going to add a field to the kubeconf. To the load to this here, I'm going to add a method. I'm going to add a method to this. We have load, which brings us one. We have config JSON, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to go ahead and add an is 0 to config. Now, this technically doesn't have to be here. Why don't we put this actually a little bit lower? So, yeah, so that's, I mean, that's the main function, right? So let's add another one. Let's add, we could say func c config is 0 and return a Boolean. And so what are we doing? We're returning true if, so we can say return c dot context equals nil. Is null or empty in a lot of Kotlin APIs. Yeah, it is kind of like that actually. So the idea of 0 values in Go is really nice because you don't have to initialize things. You don't have to assign initial values. It happens for strings, arrays, maps, and they all have initial values. So maps, the initial value is nil. Strings initial value is empty string. Integers and any numbers, the initial value is 0. Booleans, the initial value is false. So it takes some declarations out of it. But when you're dealing with a complex struct and you want to know if that thing has been initialized or touched at all, you have to add a method to it to be able to check for that. And so that's kind of the way to do it. So if c.context equals nil, I mean, that would be one way, right? So, and now I'm actually going to write some test code for this because this is a little weird. So I'm going to write some unit test code for this. And I'm just going to do an example text because they're so much easier. Example config is 0. Output colon, don't forget the colon. True, false, test. So we'll make a new one. So we'll say kconf equals kubectl-login fnt purln kconf.is 0. So that should be true. And then if we add something to it, if we say kconf, I mean, we should actually test every case. Test all cases, contexts, clusters, users, preferences. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. I'm actually going to go in there and set up my ENTR for a while because we're going to be in kind of debug mode. All right, so let me activate that real quick. ENTR --c clear go test kubeconf. Actually, no, let's do this. Let's do .run ./ is 0. Kubeconf, let's see. ls kubeconf. Actually, that's one. I think it has to be per line, yeah. Kubeconf. So if any of those files change, let's go ahead and run the test. What did I do wrong here? Oh. Semicolon. All right, there we go. So we got our testing going on. It means it's uninitialized. That it's been created, it exists, but it's a 0 value. That's what it means. It means nothing has been done to it, right? So that's what we're adding anyway. Assignment mismatch. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. Conf has an error. We'll throw out the error right now. We don't care. There is no error. Not used. Okay, it's actually used right here. 15. Oh, whoops. Yeah. So we got 2 falses there, right? So that's not good. So we got to go back into fix our test. So return contexts equals nil. So the problem with this is that context actually is a value. This is one of the reasons I'm doing this. It's an empty map that doesn't have any values. So we have to figure out what that looks like. And I mean, there's lots of ways to check for the emptiness. I think I can do length actually. Length of context is equals 0. I think I can do that I think that'll give me the key length. Yep, that did it. Builder pattern should fit. Yeah. And empty map, no values. Yep. And empty map, yes. So we need to check that all of the lengths are 0. Let's actually break this now. So by adding a new context. So, I mean, technically I can make separate tests for all of this. This is always kind of, you know what, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's say clusters first. Contexts first. Contexts. 0 context. A different structure for uninitialized state of the configuration. Yeah, if I do that, I can't cast it though. I wish I could. I can't cast if I do that. You know what I mean? So print this. Is 0 is true for now. So now we need to do something. We need to say kconf.context sum equals API dot new. Actually, I think I have to do yeah, I have to do that. The uninit conf. Just run initialized state of the configuration. Yeah, I don't know if I like cannot use API for assignment. Oh, we have to do a new. So even if it's empty, it should trigger a false. All right, so that should trigger a false. And we passed. Yay. All right, so now the question is whether should we do this all as individual or should we do multiple files? So I'm going to actually duplicate this exact thing and this unit test, and I'm going to copy the whole thing, and I'm going to make several copies. I know this seems like overkill. I'm sorry. It needs to be done. So we're going to comment this one out. Probably just waited. And this one will say clusters now. Yeah. We should fail now. We actually also need to change our test to be anything with is 0 in the name. So cluster undefined, kubeconfig has no filter method cluster. Oh, it's clusters. All right, so that we got a true on, which needs to be fixed. So we are going to add this is really not that bad. All right. Sysadmin monkey. So that's all well and good. Can I return this? I don't think I can. It would be nice. It's going to make this big ass long code. Yeah, the A has to be on the same line. You can't, the return has to be on the same line. It's super annoying. I can't like make it clean. No, it's got to be on the same line. Oh, that worked. Nice. Okay. Can I do this? Nope. But apparently I can do this. It's much easier to read. I'm not dumping that all in one line. All right, so I mean, I can just go ahead and do the rest of them right now. What we were testing is this. We were doing k-login and getting this empty thing. So we have preferences, clusters, users, context, and current context. I mean, strictly speaking, we really only need one, but we don't really need current context. If current context can't be set without a file, and somebody could set that from the command line, actually. So no, this, and this can all come from separate files. So I think that's going to be enough of a zero value. I don't, if it's what you're trying to do. Your advice is, you're not confused. I'm just trying to focus here. So let's actually put them in the order that they appear. So let's put clusters here, context, then what else do we have? We have contexts, clusters, contexts, users, otherwise known as auth info. They put preferences first. I find that interesting. Huh. Preferences, clusters, users, contexts, preferences. Clusters, users, contexts. I mean, they all have to be zero. So there's no such thing as prefs. Is it prefs? What is it? Prefs undefined. Let's go look at it. We need to look up api.client, actually. Which is a pain in the ass. I really don't want to look it up, but let's do that. Let's do API config. There we go. Ugh, so fucking ugly. Every time I have to look at this. Preferences. So preferences is actually a struct. It's not a map. Users is auth infos. Okay, so all right, so users is auth infos. Context is there. Auth infos is not a thing. Preferences is a thing, but preferences is a preference. So we want to see if it's a nil value. Right? So what is, I mean, what actually is it? We have this here. So that preferences is a struct. So if preferences is nil, preferences is going to be nil in this case. Actually, it's not nil though. No, because it dumped out a map. Wait, important. If you add fields to this struct, is config empty? Oh, they already have a method for this. They have a method for this already. Shit. I don't need to write it. I can delete all of this stuff. Is config returns true if the config is empty. Oh my god. I don't need any of this. Oh my god. Let's make sure it works, right? Dude, read the docs first. Have you seen the docs? The non-existent docs for this particular API? You haven't been here before, have you? If you watch me working on this command client API and how horrible it's written and how it has zero documentation, you would know exactly my pain. But do I care? No, I just am happy I found it. So we don't need an is0. Is0 is compatible with everything else. It would have been the right name to pick, but I don't want to promote the use of customized names. So I'm going to delete this right now. In fact, I'm going to revert this entire library because I don't need to make these changes at all. So, yep, we don't need it. Get status. Get checkout. Keep conf. Restore it back to where it was. Issues. I didn't open an issue, did I? Close. GH. Issue comment 6. Added. Close 6. All right, so that one's good. We're back here. Let's actually test it, shall we? So main, back into main. That was a fun sidetrack. If kconfig is, what is it? Empty. I might have to cast it to do this, actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to cast it. I'm going to have to cast it. Is config empty? All right. Create a new config file. Yep. Go install. Bullshit. Are you fucking kidding me? Did they? Is this like a reference? Where is config empty? Oh my god, it's a function. It's a function. I mean, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, but that's dumb. They could have done an is0 and made it compatible with everything, but no. If all right, so if kconf equals nil, or API kconf API config dereference kconf equals nil, untyped nil. What? API config value in argument to is empty. So we have to provide a reference to it. Alrighty. That's going to be kind of hard to cast, actually. You know what? I'm starting to lose my attraction for wrapping that. I probably am going to unwrap it, actually. I don't know if we should even wrap it. I wrapped it so that we could do JSON marshalling and stuff, but we can make that into a function instead. Yeah. See, a little bit of C experience, yeah. I mean, I wrote production code. I had to write a fork bomb for IBM, actually. I'm not going to wrap this thing. I'm not going to wrap it. I'm going to unwrap it from now on. I'm going to change these into functions. I am. I'm going to change these into functions. I am. It doesn't make any sense to wrap that. Let me show you what I mean. So if I do kubectl-login internal JSON. Actually, no. Make dir util kubectl. I don't like naming packages util. It's like an anti-pattern in Go. They actually tell you never to name anything util, but I'm going to do it anyway. So there. And then we can say outputs whatever is passed as JSON or logged in returned as JSON any yep. That's the way to convert anything into JSON. And you can actually do the same thing with YAML, but I think that's worth keeping. And that, if we do that, then we can drop the rest of the stuff in the kubeconf. Yeah, we could just, I mean, this is it. This is really all we need. I love how, like, minimal this is getting now. Get status. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. All right, submit. Why am I so allergic to something? C++ is where embedded is going, yeah. Rust is going to take a long time for them. I mean, it's I mean, the C++ is a standard. God, why am I having like this, like, allergy attack or something? I don't know what's going on. It's really weird. What's in the air? The AC was just on. Pollen or something. Oh, maybe I need to get up and walk around. Oh, it's weird. I'm allergic to tech, yes. I kind of am. May not go. And Anyway, so we need this is it. This is all we need. We can return an API.config object and call it a day, and then we don't have to cast it. It's even simpler than the other one was. Using the default loading rules. How multiple configurations from different files. That is it. That is it. The truth is, now that it's a confident error, we don't even need to do that. Can you believe it? That's exactly where we are now. I'm pretty damn proud of that. Do you have any idea how much time it took me to figure that out? And now it's like we've dropped it down to like one command. I'm so happy with that. Yeah, so we actually need to commit this, but I'm not going to do that yet. So what I was telling you earlier is how do we want to use this config file, right? So we want to be able to use this, and how do we do that, right? So why did I change it back to not encapsulating it? Because the only reason we were encapsulating it was to get a stringer marshalling, and we don't really need that. We don't, and especially since we're paying for being able to call methods on it directly because we've encapsulated and hidden them away. So that's not that we'd have to implement the same interface. We're not going to do that and pass everything through. So just passing off the actual API config object directly is going to allow it to be changed, and that allows us to call if config is empty directly against it. We would not be able to do that without that. So we can actually go install. This should work now. Can I use kcomp variable kubeconfig? Now, the reason it's still using the old one, this is where go work comes in. This could really throw people if they didn't know. What this is doing is you're like, but we just changed it, right? We just changed kubeconfig to not have a config object anymore. The problem is that Go is still using the one that it last pulled down from the internet. And that's where go work comes in. So you go, hey, how you doing? So you do go work use ... kubeconf. This is another reason to be really organized in how you store your Git repos with relation to one another. And I have a top level repos directory, and then I have github.com/whatever, and then the pathing as defined by the URLs for those repos. Whether it be GitHub, you can put source code in there, you can put everything in there, and all your repos will resolve properly. And then your Git works can just be relative to this current location rather than having to go know the entire path. So when I do this now and I run the same code, you see I get a different error message because it's now using the one locally. It's using the local copy of that package as opposed to the one that's up on the internet. In order to get it the other way, I would have to commit, push, and pull it, and commit it to some branch or something, right? And that's just not happening. That's just not happening. So this is how you test changes to multiple packages at the same time, and stuff. I didn't branch that other package. Probably should have done that, but I'll do it. So may not go 19. Cannot use kconf variable of type API config. And argument to is config. Okay, so the only thing we need to do now, we have a couple of problems now. So we can't print. Obviously, this thing was only for the other one, but we don't need it. We actually added something new. We can say fmt println, and we can print it as JSON. So we can use util dot as JSON conf, right? And if we wanted to, we could have print as JSON. Why don't we add that too? Not going to hurt. So let's actually add that. Let's go add some more utils. Util. And we'll have a function print as JSON. Calls as a JSON. And prints to standard output. Func print as JSON. And we could have anything in here. If you're still using the empty interface, God help you. fmt.println and prints to standard output with a trailing line return, I think. I think that's important. And press the standard output with println. I mean, that's the entire function right there, but it's still going to be read, so it's fine. Println as JSON A. All right. Oh, that's fine. Stressed unicorn. Sneezing unicorn. All right, so main.go. So now we can do this. There we go. Print as JSON call. All right, that's a nice util to have. And let's see if we can use it. Go install undefined util. Am I not using the current directory? Yeah, I am. Damn it. Well, what's going on here? Util print any. Undefined util. I think I have to explicitly add it because, yeah, we do. Rich Rob. kubectl-login. Internal util. That'll work. Can I use kconf variable type API conf? Oh yeah, that's the error we expected. So now we have to take a ref to it. It does make you think that maybe we should return a ref instead, though, doesn't it? I think we should return a ref. That's going to be a breaking change. That's a breaking change, but we're still not at 1.0, so we're probably fine. Find better ones. Keep it simple, yeah. Yes. Agreed. I'm realizing we probably want a reference instead of I'm trying to decide whether we should return a reference or we should return the actual map. I'm trying to decide what we should do there. Anybody have opinions on that? They'll both work. I'm wondering if see, map types are already references, so I think that I actually think that the function that checks to see if it's empty, requiring it be a reference to the map, is stupid. But no, that's not stupid, because it has to go in and individually look at that specific map's values. If I passed, no, it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. Maps are already references. It absolutely doesn't. It's totally stupid. It doesn't need it. It does not need a map. Okay, I'm glad I looked at that. This is the right thing to do. And the fact that this program is throwing this is config requires a reference to a map just shows how fucking stupid it is. Because that demonstrates a fundamental lack of understanding of maps in general. So, not to mention the fact that they could have named it is0 or something and put a method on it, but they didn't do that. They created an entire function. So, I mean, the people who wrote this, we already decided that they had no idea how to write Go, and I have to work around it. So, otherwise, I wouldn't need this stupid library. I'm sorry, I'm getting mad again. I get mad a lot when I write this, when I work with this library, because it's so hideous. So, okay, so the is empty works. Our code is working. We're good to go. I can move on and just call it a day. So that's the first change. Drop config encapsulation. Submit. All right. So that's the thing. I still need to do this one. So I actually need to save that. I don't know if I should spend time committing that or not. Greetings. So the EULA here? Is there a EULA here? I didn't know if there was a EULA here. So we've got print is empty. So it's actually doing what it's supposed to. And it did say it was empty, so that was nice. Seriously, I have gone to great lengths to actually use the kubectl config stuff, and I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but having this one load function is so valuable. It is so stinking valuable, I cannot tell you. So I'm actually going to go ahead and rebuild one of these right now, and before I finish main, because we just made some changes and I got to get those changes in the new release. And now that we have GitHub Actions, I should be able to do that no problem. So we're going to need a PR on this. Git status. I haven't changed anything yet. So I haven't changed anything yet. Is it going to copy it over when I make a PR copy? It isn't, is it? So I'm going to move my changes over to temporarily. I should probably stash. Should I do a git stash? I'm not very good at it, though. I don't know if you stash very much. I'm going to try it. So when you do this, when you accidentally make changes to main, I think I can git stash it, create a new branch, unstash it, and then do the rest. I just commit to the new branch. Oh. You always fuck the stash up? I was going to say. Me too. So I don't know what the best way. I'm still pretty new to dealing with proper, PRs and all that. You have to remember to pop. I know, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm glad you chimed in, because I was going to try that. I mean, just moving the files away and then that's basically my own stash, right? Let's try to do the commit against the thing here. So it would be, I'd have to make a new branch though, right? See, if as soon as I make a new branch, it's not going to have the changes in it, right? Let me try. So git switch.c, which is better than checkout-b. Yeah, I don't do checkout-b anymore. Switch.c is the new hotness. Uh, yeah. So let's do switch-c is what you should be doing now. That's the new normal. Yeah, read about it. It's pretty cool. Yep. Get switch is the new thing. It's yeah, some hipster bullshit. It's been around for like 2.5, 3 years. I know checkout-b is we've been using it forever, right? Switch to specified branch, working true. If you do -c, it'll make a new one. You're expected to patch optionally new branch. So, strictly speaking, checkout-b is deprecated. I'm sorry to inform you. People are going to do it for centuries. Yeah, let's actually do a little research on that. Git switch versus checkout-b. What's the difference between git switch and checkout-b? All right, so let's actually add a document about this. Let's make a Z about this. Difference between git switch and checkout-b. And related reading. Say, all right, so what's the difference? Is the Git team planning to deprecate Git checkout? I see no deprecation warning using it, but with Git switch and Git restore, I now see that no need for checkout. However, if it is not deprecated, the Git team has just made it more confusing. I don't disagree. 2021, the behavior may change. Yeah, well, I don't know. That's right. Thanks. Unfortunately, that means checkout will stick around for its corner case. In the minority of the time, this will stretch out our time, but I guess I'll just have to help each other out. Git switch detach. According to the documentation, the sole purpose is to split and clarify the two differences in Git checkout. Git switch can now be used to change branches as Git checkout does. Git restore can be used to reset files to certain revisions as Git checkout path to file name. People can use by 3 different ways to use Git checkout. This is true. I am too. As you can see from the many questions regarding Git checkout and Stack Overflow. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Deprecated and experimental. I know. This is going to be like a religious holy war. This seems to be a good change. Make a branch, Git checkout, switch branch. Git checkout, get blah, blah. No, that's not what you do. You do -c and you don't have to do it into. Yeah. What's the difference between git switch, blah, blah, blah. Git checkout is a bit of a Swiss Army knife in that it has several unrelated uses. If you modify a file but haven't staged the change, then git checkout file name will reverse the mods. And I do that all the time, by the way. When you want to revert and you want to change the modifications, sometimes you can't use revert. You have to actually use git checkout to override your changes. I do it all the time. A quick and easy way to cancel change to a file. I do it all the time. Git checkout branches, switches branches. To completely different purposes. Create confusion. Having 2 separate commands are good. As you mentioned, having a branch to file name is confusing. Blah, blah. The switch command indeed does the same thing as checkout, but only for those usages that switch branches. In particular, unlike checkout, it cannot restore working tree files, and nor should it. That is instead done using the restore command that was introduced alongside switch. And I actually have used restore, but I've noticed that restore does not always work. So I can't be, I'm going to try to use restore again just to show you. So restore is when you want to check out over the top of something. And so basically they're doing git switch to switch between the branches and make a new one. They're doing get checkout just for checking out shit, and git restore for that third purpose. So they're trying to make 3 commands. And get reset hard. Yeah, that's pretty damn scary. Yeah, you can do a get reset hard. That's also pretty damn scary though too. But people do it. I just did, right? I tend to like do that per file. Get it up hard. Oh my god, it must be Saturday night. In other words, checkout does 2 different things and releases split of each. So yeah. The good old git checkout command is still here and will be until all or most of its users are sick of it. The commit that added the switch command explains the rationale for the new commands in the commit message. Git checkout doing too many things is a source of confusion for users, and it even bites old-time users. To remedy that, the command will be split into two new ones, switch and restore. The good old git checkout command is still here and will be until all of them are sick of it. So you're still going to have to use checkout. Yeah. From this, it's clear that the new commands were introduced to reduce confusion by having two focus commands rather than one multi-purpose command. Note that as of December 2021, never give up giving maintainership. The new commands are still listed as experimental. This command is experimental. Behavior may change. I have not found a full comparison of the commands anywhere. Okay, look at all the stuff you can do with checkout. Checkout is such a disaster. It was a horrible design from the very beginning. It always has been. They always said to CO, I don't do that anymore. So I'm going to be a hipster. I'm going to use switch and restore until I can't use it anymore. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You do you. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try because the team is definitely trying to go in that direction. So when people watch me, they're like, I'm going to try to get out awareness of it's like a very get woke. Get it? Get space woke. It's very get space woke. Use switch and restore. I get woke needs to be the command that describes why a person should use git switch and git restore instead of the eventually to be deprecated git checkout. Even though switch and restore are still experimental. Quite hipster. Yeah. There you go. What's wrong with me? You're main branch people? What, commit to main? Main is development. I don't commit to main, no. What are you talking about? Oh, using main instead of master? I use main for one reason alone. It's 4 letters instead of 6. That is the only reason. I like it because I type it all the time, and so I would rather type that instead of master. You can call me a horrible person, but that is literally the only reason. I know that it's also what other people like. I'm like, oh, fine. Okay, let's drop 3 letters. That'll make my life better. And you know, people, you know, whatever. And the whole, yeah. So anyway, look, I don't mean any offense to anybody who actually thinks that there is some racial implication by using the term master. I don't agree with that statement. And it's not because I'm an old white dude. It's because it's fucking idiotic to think so. I'm sorry. It's like, should we remove all references to slavery in our vernacular and in our technology? Yeah, okay, fine. We can find an alternative way to refer to things. That's probably a good thing. We also kill processes and finger users. And I mean, I could go on, right? We have demons. We have demons in our systems, right? We have actual demons in our systems. There's like a bunch of, you know, master bedroom, right? Is there a slave bedroom and a master bedroom? Yeah. Okay. So whatever. You know, somebody says they think it's idiotic, and they also said they're not white. I think it's stupid. I think language is complex, and I think changing our language to respect the values, the progressive values as they happen is totally fine. But I think that breaking the language in ways that create chaos and suffering for the sake of progress is not worth doing. And if you want to ask my opinion on pronouns, strangely, I actually agree with Jordan Peterson on that. I fucking hate Jordan Peterson, but I agree that language has nothing to do. Language is freedom. You should be able to refer to people however you want to. You should be respectful. You shouldn't call people a moron. You should call them a person, just like you should. And if you don't know their pronouns, you shouldn't be upset about that. And you should try your best to try to be respectful in every way possible. That's everything you should probably do. But I think we lost an opportunity there. And that's going to really get people who are going to really cancel me for saying that. I don't think that selecting the pronoun they, which has a specific usage in the English language, which was already confusing enough, was the right way to go about doing this, to refer to a single individual. I wish we had invented a new pronoun. And do I think that we should have changes to our language? Hell yes, I do. I totally do. I am a big polyglot. I study languages. We have neutral, I want better language. And I think we lost an opportunity to make a change to the language by slowing down and stopping our fighting with each other. People were so spun up about the issue as to who gets the names and stuff that they didn't even have time to slow down, calm down, stop yelling and spitting at each other, and actually let's come up with a solution that makes sense for everybody, that will represent a new future, a new language, a new way to use, to move out of the pink and blue world. And I'm not a pink and blue person, never was. And I don't want to get into that, but if you think that there's only two genders, it's factually, scientifically unfounded to make that statement. So, you get into the pronouns thing, and you get into the slavery thing. There are so many words in our language that are like the etymology of them is like horrible. It's absolutely horrible. There's actually a Star Trek Voyager episode where the name of a civilization means something really horrible, the name of the people, and that perpetuated like for millennia, and they didn't change the identifier for that. They didn't change the language because of this horrible origin for this word. They accepted the word and they gave the word new meaning. And there's some words you can't pull that off with, like the N word, for example, or even the B word these days. And so I know this has been kind of a ranty side thing. I'm sorry about this, but so we got into the whole master main thing, and I think that I think that we do need to make changes and going forward and stuff like that, and we should do that. So I'm not against progressive language changes. I just am anti break my code because you insist that the change be made by everybody immediately, and instead of giving humanity a time to catch up, right? We've got to have time. We have to have time to make adjustments and stuff. And people want it so fast sometimes that they're willing to destroy things in order to get what they want right away. And I suppose in some cases that makes sense, depending on how bad it is, right? But other things we can allow to, incremental changes. And the master main thing is just silly. I think that was one of those things. Anyway. You're find it by git pull. I know I can find a million things, are actually progressive. Yeah, I know some people might. Yeah, if we're not going along with language changes, yes. All of them are just about virtual signaling. Yeah, I agree. And I'm married to one actually, who I really love, and we try really hard to get everybody's pronouns right and do all this stuff. And it's really weird for me because I really don't fit anywhere on any political spectrum. I don't. So people look at me and they think that I'm this or that, and they try to find out where I am, and I really don't fit. Somebody suggested I'm libertarian. I'm like, no, libertarians think this and this and this. I don't believe that. I think we should stop with the labeling, and we should just start talking about the issues and deal with the issues as an issue, instead of trying to identify the flag somebody's flying over their head before we even have a conversation. That's the most important thing that I want to leave this with. Probably should take a break. I really wish we would just stop. And I do it too. I need to stop. I need to stop saying, oh, they're just a liberal or a progressive, or they're just a Republican or a Trump supporter, or they're just a, whatever, right? We need to stop defining people by their tribe. We need to start defining people as individuals. The Constitution of the United States democracy is founded on rights of the individual. It's been founded on, sovereign identity and all of these wonderful things. And everybody agrees on that. We all agree on that. The people that are fighting in the streets on from every angle and every side, they actually all agree in, individuals to be respected and that they should be, the core of society. And yet we still can't get along enough to talk about what that means because we're so busy saying, that guy's got a beard. Wait a second. He has a chin beard. Wait, he has an ironic mustache. Must be a hipster. He's one of those damn woke lords. I bet he likes Disney. And then, the other guy's like, oh, that person's like overweight and is wearing an American flag in a Speedo that they should never have worn. It must be a Trump supporter. Do you know what I mean? Or that person over there is like, is that a man or a woman? I can't really tell. Because I can't tell, they must be trans and therefore we must put them into a category. It's so bad. It's so bad that we do that. I wish we wouldn't do that. I think it might be human nature to establish what tribe we're in, and I don't know if I buy into that. But anyway, let's see. Only someone with privilege was said that. That's usually what I've heard people say. He does look white and old. Yes. Let me sound suspiciously like something an old white man would say. Yeah. And look, the first thing I'm going to admit right now is that I have built-in cultural biases. I absolutely do. Do I know what they are? Am I aware of them? Am I, spewing ignorance based on what I have been conditioned to know? Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that we need to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and we need to do that's all. That's all. But I don't have a voice as a white man right now. And I'm not a fucking alt-righter. I'm nothing to that. I just don't, it's not my time to talk. There've been a lot of other people that I happen to agree have been repressed for way too long in humanity for many different reasons. And they haven't had a voice a woman couldn't even get a credit card until 1976. Think about that for a second. And 1976 was the first year a woman could get their own credit card without a man signing for them. Think about that. So I am perfectly fine, trying to shut up for a bit and let other people talk and let other people figure things out and figure out what our new future is going to be. And I'm happy to let them drive for a while, but as a white man. But and I've had privilege my whole life. I don't even know how much I may have been privileged, but I also think that if we have to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, because if we don't do that, how are we going to progress? We have to talk. For the record, I was being facetious. You need to justify your position. Fat guy in an American flag Speedo sounds like he's ready to party. Exactly. He's going to go to a sports game, and I would be right there with him, laughing my ass off. So anyway, I do feel a little bit self-conscious being a Twitch streamer, and even when we joke about these things, sometimes I get a little bit. And on that note, I'm going to go get a beer. I've been trying to reduce my alcohol consumption, and my wife brings home a 6-pack. I'm like, what the hell? So that's all on YouTube. So apparently, I'm going to take a break here. Some music. Here's some French music, of all things. We're having fun. We got a beer. I kind of went crazy. We kind of relaxed a little bit. Get off my lawn. We are the world. They're making 80s jokes. I'm so sorry for all that little rabbit hole, that political rabbit hole I just went in. I told you at the beginning of the stream, I put a big old disclaimer in there. I said, hey, I don't know where this is even going to go. It could go anywhere at any time. So, and you watched it anyway. So this is on you. It's not on me. I can do whatever I want. It's my stream, my YouTube channel, whatever. You cannot follow me. Fine. Go follow somebody else. Да, я говорю по-русски. Почему? Почему спрашиваешь? Ну что? А вы говорите по-русски или нет? Напишите что-то на русском. Не говорит по-русски. Не говорите. I take that as a yes. Oh, I thought you speak Russian. I was asking you to prove it. No, ladna. How did I acquire it? It was my major. Yeah. The wall came down while I was in college. That's how old I am. The wall came down while I was in college, so I changed my major from French to Russian, having served a mission in France for the Mormons. Guess what? We'll have a little talk about this. I had 2 Mormon missionaries on my door, the cutest little sister missionaries. These adorable 19. I mean, they're so young. All I could think about was if I had had a daughter like that was 19 or 20, that would, they were just adorable and they were really naive and wonderful. And I gave him I gave him Smarties. I had boxes of Smarties. I gave it to him, and I tried to not destroy their testimony and tried to be nice. They're really, really, really wonderful people. They really are. They're really trying their hardest to do what they think is the right thing. And normally on Sunday, it is artificially Sunday, right? So Sunday is the day that I usually get the whole fact that I was Mormon off my chest. But you're here for co-working. You're not here for that. You're going to have to come back here another time. Maybe I'll do a podcast on what it's like to be Mormon. And don't get mad, get busy, and stuff. Shortest queue ever. Did the queue end? Did it end already? It already end? Sukablut. Co-working, I'm here to vicariously experience productivity. A few more beers, he will spill it all. Mark knows me way too well. Yeah, it's like, this is how every co-working stream goes. It starts up being really productive, then it gets ranty, then I have wine or beer, and by the end, it's like completely unproductive. And then I pass out. All for you to see. If you want something productive, go watch The Boost Today. The Boost Today was awesome, by the way. Dude, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I focused, and we got the boost done. The boost got done today. It was awesome. I want to say we actually did a really good job, and I did a good job. I don't know about you. I did a good job. There's many times that I don't do a good job, but the boost today was awesome. It was on point. We talked about, VI Magic. So you can go back and watch it. I had material for people to read. I made my point. We went through it. I talked, expanded on it. The reason I know that is because the people in my chat were freaking the fuck out the whole time. They were like, oh my God, I never knew that. I've been doing this for 20 years. Oh my God, I never knew that. Oh my God, I never knew that. Oh my God, I never knew that. And it was so good. It was really, really good. This is probably the most important part of the whole thing, is that if you want to use VI and you've never used it before, you really only need to learn these 10 commands. You don't need to learn Nano. You just need to learn these 10 commands. And after that, everything you add to your Vim skills is on top of that. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the Boost of Your Beginner, even if you are a veteran, you might want to zoom through there and see if you can learn some fun stuff. Maybe you'll learn something about learning VI, using VI. And that's all I have to say about that. VI Magic, Shift A is my favorite command of Vim. Nice. End of line in insert mode. Use it so much. Yes. A nice time at Birkdale last night. You got some Fudget Kid ones? I'm going to have to meet you there sometime, Mark. Yeah, that would be fun. I'd love to go. Indeed, apparently Prigozhin struck a deal with Lukashenko. Hopefully they're going to get rid of Putin, though. I should give VIS a whirl. I don't know about that. I talk about this today, but I don't use editors unless they are standard. My demands for using an editor are that it be useful on any system. If I were going to use a big, powerful editor, I would use Emacs, which I have tried and failed to use in the past. Emacs is such even with, evil mode, it's such a departure from how I do things with Vim and Tmux. That I can't do it. I tried it for 2 days, and I do. Part of me wishes that I could get good with Emacs, but you still have to run VI anyway. So anyway, the time is quite useful for certain kinds of edits. As Vim VI. Yeah. I use VI for everything because VI works everywhere. Anyway, that was the topic today. So it was a 3-hour boost. It's normally only 2. Today was 3 hours, but we covered the entire Vim tutorial and all the extra stuff. So next week we're going to do the Vim config. I seriously, I continue to be blown away by the people, like veterans, who don't know how to use the exclamation point, the magic wand commands in Vim. It's so sad. It's really sad, and because they use it their whole life and they never learned it. And it's like it's something that could have been there the whole time to help them out, and they didn't know. So, okay, so we're using API's config is empty. We got that. That's working. If it's empty, we're going to go ahead and make a new config file. Yeah, so if it's there, let's go ahead and make a new one. And I suppose that is going to, let's make the dir. So the dir is going to be dir equals file path.join. Wait, we say we need home. You guys know how to look up the home directory, yeah, and go. Standard user home in dir. So there we go. Is it user home dir? What is it? Is it user home? What the hell is it? I don't remember. It's os.userHomeDir, right? User home dir. Yep, that's it. Why isn't it showing up? User home dir. Home, and then we join home, comma. It's never not true. There's never an error here. If you had an LSP plugin, no. LSP is shit. LSP is shit. I don't like LSP. This is normally working. I don't know why that's not working right now. That's what's kind of. It's probably because the code's got some kind of compile issue. See this? Yeah, all of my stuff's not working. You don't need it. You don't need LSP. Not with GoVimGo. I have some problem here. I need to do this. entr bash clear run test to 0. Now let's do tests. Let's do anything that's got to go on the end. Yeah. I got a compilation issue. That's the problem I'm having. That's why it's not doing it. There's no test files. Actually, let's just run the program, shall we? Let's do go run instead. Go run main.go. All right. So, actually, that's interesting. It's compiling just fine. It's not resolving documentation like it's supposed to. So, this is some bigger issue. Normally, I don't have to use language server because that stuff is documented. But none of my documentation is pulling in right now for some reason. I don't know why. This is yeah. Anyway, I that's troubling me because it should work. What the hell is going on? Do you have a problem? Why is it doing that? I don't know why. I don't know. I wonder if it's because it's not a package declaration. It's just made. It should be working. Anybody know? Get a mechanical keyboard. It's up to you. I don't like them. I'll beat you to death with it if you use it next to me in a cubicle. I hate keyboard noise. I have a mechanical. I use it for gaming and stuff, but that's the only reason. Low profile Mac keyboard is designed to avoid going to get surgery, carpal tunnel. Number one keyboard used by writers and authors and business professionals is the low profile Mac keyboard. Yeah. You can say what you want. You can about your fancy ass blues and reds. I'll use the keyboard used by the most productive people on planet fucking Earth. Well, you guys give me shit about not using a mechanical keyboard. Make sure. So we need to have a new dir. We're going to make a new dir. We're going to say home dot cube. And we need to do make dir parents. Actually, we don't need to do that. We just need a cube. If it already exists, this should be fine. What the hell is wrong with this program? It should be doing this. Yeah, it should be making it, but it's not for some reason. Yeah, make sure 0755. Yep, print line. I have no idea why it's not looking up. I don't care. It's empty. Okay. Create a new default config file. I did that. All we need to do is make the directory because the kubectl commands later are going to actually do the rest. So we're good to go. Kubectl commands cannot create a cube directory. Let me show you. So this is a problem, right? So if I don't have a cube directory at all, that just means it's empty, right? If I remove it, watch, kubectl will like not be happy. Config, get context, no context, right? So if I actually set the context, watch, set context, let's make a new one. Actually, let's set the context. Now let's set the cluster, dash, cluster prod server, some, that's my DNS. And that, now watch what it does. Oh my god, this is actually good news. Did it make a directory for .cube? What? It did. It did. It made a cube directory with 755. I didn't have to do it. Well, screw that. I don't need to make that code then, because I'm using kubectl for all the stuff. I like low profile. I'm glad to find somebody that actually agrees with me on that. That's very hard to find somebody who agrees. Especially on Twitch. Twitch is filled with gamer noobs. Gamer plebes who I think the funniest thing of all is when like people put their camera on their crazy ass mechanical keyboard and they have it ergonomic and everything because the mechanical makes their hands hurt. And so they go with this like crazy ass ergonomical thing, and then they put a big camera on it, and they put like 2 microphones on it so that, you know, all you can hear is like keyboard noise in the background. and then they sell it as like keyboard ASMR and everything. I'm like, all right, you do you. You do you, but I don't want anything to do with it. $100 artisan wrist stress. Exactly. Holy shit, you're brilliant. I totally agree with you. Guess what? We didn't need to make a file here. No, we did not. We did not. We did not. Actually, I don't even know if we actually have to check if the config is empty. We don't need to make a directory because the command is going to make it. God damn it. More code I don't need to write. The longer I spend on my code, the fewer lines there are. MAGA hat. You might rest on a mechanical keyboard while wearing your America flag Speedo with a beer helmet. That is a great image. Can I have another beer? You paid by the line? Yeah, I'm getting paid by lines of code. How many K-locks? Oh my god, you want to see a horrible video? You want to see one of the worst videos of all time from one of the biggest idiot moron fucking dickwads ever? How do you really feel, Rob? I told you, Mark got it right. As the alcohol flows, the rants and insults will come. He's absolutely right. Yeah. K-locks. Balmer. K-locks. Oh my god, this guy is such a fucking moron. All right, here we go. Wait. He's such a fucking moron. You know what? Steve Ballmer epitomizes legacy entrance into Harvard. This guy went to Harvard. You know what? He didn't have to do a fucking thing. This fucking idiot got into Harvard because he knew somebody. And then he got rich because Bill Gates was also there because he knew somebody. His mom specifically. And then he talks about K-locks. Here we go.
IBM, there's a religion in software that says you have to count K-locks. And a K-lock is 1,000 line of code. How big a project is it? Oh, it's a 10 K-lock project. This is a 20 K-locker. And there's a 50 K-lock.
Nobody does that.
And IBM wanted to sort of make it the religion about how we got paid. How much money we made off of us, how much they did. How many K-locks did you do? And we kept trying to convince them, hey, if we
actually agree with
developer's got a good idea and he can get something done in 4 K-locks instead of 20 K-locks, should we make less money? Because he's made something smaller and faster, less clocked. Oh, K-locks, that's the methodology.
I actually I agree with Ballmer on this. But he's otherwise kind of an idiot.
My back just crinkle up at the thought of the whole thing.
K-locks. All right. And you know what? Crazy enough, I'm glad I watched that. Because I actually agree with Ballmer on that. What the hell am I watching? This is in the face of the new Microsoft. We gotta watch Monkey Boy now. Monkey Boy Ballmer. This is okay. Get your ears ready. This is gonna go on. You know what? YouTube. I'm gonna pause. You're gonna miss this because I don't want to get banned on YouTube. So YouTubers, I'm gonna have to take a break. You're gonna be mad at me. But what I want you to do is to go watch this video right here. Where is it? There's like a remix. Developers. This is funny because here it is. Steve Ballmer's music video. This music video is so good. Go watch this music video, okay? I have to pause the YouTube video now. Bye, YouTube. All right, YouTube, you're back. Oh my God, we've been having fun with Monkey Boy Ballmer and developers. So, sweat stains on the elbows is intense. Absolutely. It's all about those lines of code, though. You know, he nailed the K-locks thing, though, so... Excuse me, I'm on my third beer. If API is config empty, Rob, how can you work and write code on a Saturday night drinking beer? Watch me. Okay, wrong kind of fame, yeah. Better these days than before. Becoming a meme is like the elevator of fame these days. Absolutely. It is. Yeah, I aspire to be a meme. I could be a meme. People keep comparing me to the Mythbusters guy. I'm like, that's not me. It's not to do something about it being empty. Actually, we don't need to do anything about that. We really don't. So because it's going to actually do it. kubectl is going to do the right thing. So the next thing, we don't need the directory, don't need it, don't need contexts, don't need the current context name. We don't need any of that because that can all be retrieved through the thing. We're going to do all of that. So get rid of that. So, did video on science of bloodhound hunting with the Mythbusters guy. Oh, really? I write some of my best code after a night after I had a few. You know what? To be fair, let's give credit. Let's give Steve Ballmer credit for an actual scientific truth. It's called the Ballmer Peak. It's called the Ballmer Peak, and it's absolutely true. I can attest to that. The Ballmer Peak. The Ballmer Peak is as a subject as XKCD. The strip explains that in the 1980s, Microsoft supposedly discovered that programmers will gain superior coding abilities if they have a blood alcohol concentration between 0.1 and 0.3, which is exactly where I am right now. It's like right between that spot where it calms you down, helps you, keeps you from overthinking things. And we have to give credit. The Ballmer peak was invented by Steve Ballmer at Microsoft, and you know what? It is factual. If you're just slightly drunk or just slightly high, not too much, it's just enough, and particularly drunk, it will help you to write better code. It really does. It helps you stop overthinking things and stuff like that. Chris Stack, I want to learn something new. And you reach 0.4, you just indiscriminately scream, developers at the top of your lungs. Yeah, that's like way over the Ballmer peak. Yeah. Yeah, that's like over the Ballmer peak. Oh my God, yes. All right, so first of all, we're checking the arguments. If you pass in an argument, then we want that argument to be, I think we actually need to add a help function here. We need to add support issue add support for -h -help. Yeah, we need to add that. So let me make an issue there to do that. And we'll add that later. We don't need it right now. So that's going to go right here, right? To add support for -v -version and add support for -h -help. And tool, is it the GH tool I'm using? Yeah. You see issues. It's just exec GH issue list. Issues. Yeah, I see issue. It's just a GitHub issue edit. Yep, it's all it is. Nothing fancy there. God, I love GH tool. I really love the GH tool, obviously. So, if we've got a version and a help thing, we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna grab it. We're gonna grab the current argument. I don't want to add this other stuff yet because I want to do it under a change ticket and PR, and not change ticket, PR and all that. So current. So if there is no current, we're going to assume prod. Prod has been hard coded as an embed in internal embed clusters. Internal clusters package has been embedded, which has client IDs and all that jazz for supporting the OIDC providers. Hey, Brillen. And Vim is useful too. Oh, hell yeah. It's the GitHub command line tool, yeah. Definitely worth learning. Drunk enough to forget you're feeling capitalism, sober enough to remember you need money to have to write a lot of code. Way of reeling to the old curmudgeons so they can feed the GPT beast. If they gave free soda, if they were smart, they would have given free alcohol, but then they would have had a bunch of alcoholics. So all of this stuff is still relevant. This is my original K-login code. What does it do? So let's talk about it. If there's a context defined, go ahead and use that context and update it. We're actually going to add context current. Actually has context. We need to add current context. So this is actually going to be kconf.context. Yeah, we're gonna access that context, and the cluster these are different because we're using the kconf directly, which is still not documenting. I don't know why. We'll figure it out. Yeah, and then we have cluster has cluster, which we're gonna have kconf. We're using kconf directly now because we're the new improved, and we're gonna look up the cluster that goes with that particular cluster name. So. Go to sleep. Great to see you. What time is it? At 1 a.m. There you go. Go to bed. Go sleep. I'll be here tomorrow. Yep. I'm actually going to go on a big old bike ride tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to take it with me, though. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go a big-ass bike ride. Like a 5-hour ride. And I'm going to kind of recover, hopefully, from all this alcohol consumption. We'll see. If has context and has cluster, fatal, unable to locate info for the cluster. So if we don't have a context and don't have a cluster, then I got nothing, right? Now, something that's interesting is, okay, this is cool because this actually will always work even if it's not there, because it'll still be there. It'll just be empty, right? So that's good. That code still works. Nice. All right. So if it has a context and it doesn't have a cluster, if it doesn't have a context and it has a cluster, add a context for that cluster. So we're going to do that, and we're going to prompt for the username. If it has a context and it doesn't have a cluster, go ahead and get the context. So that stays. We do need a We need a prompt for a password no matter what to do our OIDC query. I have Keycloak running with a root CA already in my environment here. I set that up some weeks back. I love Keycloak, by the way, because you can run the whole thing with podman command. If you want to look for that, by the way, github.com/rdbxrob/lab/key8s Keycloak. And you can actually go see how I start up the Keycloak server from a single podman command with a root CA. And that, I'm very proud of that. It took me a day to come up with that, but I'm so glad because now I can screw with Keycloak without breaking development or my production Keycloak servers at work, and I can use it at home. And then I spin up a bunch of Minikube clusters and use those so that I can emulate my entire work environment from home. That's what I'm doing. So here we go. Here is the rec OIDC password. This is the resource owner password flow, which is deprecated because it's using username and password, which is backed by LDAP usually, even though my Keycloak is not currently backed by LDAP. I want it to be, but not yet. You pass the namespace, you pass the password, you pass the cluster URL, the clan ID. There is no cluster secret unless they've set the client confidentiality to public. I'm sorry, to private, in which case there's a client secret, otherwise the client secret is ignored, but we're still passing it anyway, because some people may set that to not be ignored and not be confidential. These are pretty dense statements. They're designed to be paused and interpreted. If you want to know, you can go, I'm just stating the way I did it. So it's very dense. I'm not going to explain it, but it gives you something to search for if you want to understand what I'm doing. So CA file error create temp kubectl-login. This creates a temporary file because you cannot pass a certificate authority argument down here to kubectl without passing it a file name, and that's too bad actually, but whatever. So we have to make a temp file. I mean, I could make this into a util actually, because this is pretty common to have to do this, but I think it's probably a bad idea because this is very specific. There's already create temp, which is already built in. So we're going to go build the CA file name. We're going to move the cert after this exits, so the cert gets cleaned up automatically. And the cert that's written is a PEM file that's embedded during compilation under internal/clusters. I'll show you that later. That's what cluster.ca is. And then we run the kubectl files. And let me just restate this. Do not modify the kubeconfig files directly under any circumstance, because you will do it wrongly. The only way to do it properly is to use the kubectl command. Why? Because the proper configuration for kubectl config files is you can have a cluster be in one file, and you can have a context that uses that cluster in an entirely different file. And if you don't believe me, watch this. So you can run kubeconf to see where the location of origin is, right? But you can simulate this. I've showed you this a million times, but I'm going to show you it again. Kubeconfig. I'm going to make my point here. So temp conf1, right? Colon temp conf2. And we'll do the same thing. Kubeconfig. This is why I made the kubeconf environment variable. We'll pipe that over to, I don't know, clusters. JQ, sorry. So there we go. See the places of origin? Do you see that? Right? Locate clusters dot location of origin. Notice that these are from different files, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that you can have a context that's defined in one file, and you can have a cluster and or an auth info user section that's defined in an entirely different file. And if you attempt to modify the reference context or cluster or auth info under user section directly by going to the file, you will fail every time. The only way to do that properly is to use the kubectl command. Why? Because the logic, the extremely complex logic to find the right thing to modify has been encapsulated in the kubectl file. And so if I'm telling you, if you are trying to modify files directly, you're doing it fucking wrong. Stop. And if you don't believe me, do this. Kubeconfig --help. Go read about it. Right? It tells you the resolution of the config files, where they live and everything. And it also tells you about whether you should use set, unset, and view. These are the only things you should ever do to write to the files. You should consider those essentially your database interface to kubeconfig files. And if you do anything to any kubeconfig file directly by modifying the file, you're going to get fucked. I'm telling you, you're going to get fucked. So don't do it. And I, if you do it, you've been warned. That's all I have to say. So the reason that I am, eating this, output, and I'm actually calling kubectl rather than modifying the files directly, is because, as I said, that is the only proper way to do this. And we're embedding the cert for the cert authority, and then we're throwing away the file after we're done with that. So that's going to stay the same. The kubectl run out, this one is going to stay the same. Run out is a custom function I made that calls the executable and dumps the error output on the floor. Actually, no, it logs the error output. The quiet one that I have down here dumps the error output on the floor. It's actually a very nice internal, something some of you may actually want to use. It's too bad that this kind of stuff is not built into the library automatically. So exec, just, it's the same sort of things you write in a shell script. This is piping the output to something, and this is doing the same thing, but sending the errors to dev null. Same thing, but just a Go version of it. So here we have namespace, and we're going ahead and create a cluster config. We're going to go ahead and use the context, and actually all the rest of the stuff is still the same. Little caveat here that Kubernetes uses ID tokens and not access tokens for access. That is specifically referenced by the kubectl docs. I had to put that there because my coworker didn't believe me. I don't make the rules, I just make the code. So we should be good to go. Go install undefined current. Okay, so we have to figure out current. Where are we gonna get current? So current equals prod, current equals blah blah blah. Current equals OS, if current equals blah. I guess we need to find a default current. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and grab current. We can grab that from conf, actually. Yeah, kconf already has a current, so it has a current context. I think it is. I think that's it. Current equals. So that should actually work. Invalid operation call function current. I actually don't know what it is. I'm a little bit. Let me go back to kubeconf for a bit. Yeah, I need to do this. I think we should probably add a function here called current. I don't. No, I don't want to do that. I actually don't need to do that. I don't need to do that because it's already here, right? There it is. Current context is the name of the context you would use by default. All right, so let's use that instead. I want to use the direct things. I don't want to have to make my own versions of it. Why is that working? Current. I don't know why that's not. I don't know why. If that operation cannot non-function queue, current context available type string. Oh wait. Where we got current? The current is actually a string. Interesting. So what comes out of current context? Why is it not loading? I don't understand. Is it a compilation issue? Name context on a name undefined. variable of type string. Non-function. It's not a function. Of course it's not. What the hell am I doing? No. Yeah. It's not a function. Undefined kubeconfig context. Oh, wait. 46. Is actually, this is not a context. This is a API context. Yep. If has context and has cluster, context equals name cluster. I think this is auth info. That's not going to work. No, that's not going to work because we need to figure out what contexts are. Yeah. Let me go down here and look at this. I'm just, context is we need to make a new context, right? So, why are we even making a new context? I don't understand. Why are we making one? What is it? How does it get used later? Okay, so there is no context. I get it. And I suspect that means, okay, this is interesting. So we're going to need to make a new context, but we're also going to need to tell it where we want to save that context. And we need to do that based on, oh God, that is complicated. Which file to add it to, right? I don't even think we need to do that right there. Because we add the context down here, right? Set context right here. And we don't need to use the context here. This code needs to change. Okay, so if we don't have a context and we have a cluster, we need to get the username. We don't need a username if we have a context, though. That's actually all we really need to do here. So let's make user a public. We don't need any of the rest of this stuff. Yep. So we can say var user. So by default, user is what? User is the current context. Actually, if not has context and has cluster, user equals var user string. If not has cluster, otherwise the user equals context dot user. Yep. And let's go look at that. So we have context. Context has location origin auth info namespace. There's a bunch of like things that people do that are probably not right. Like using the username for auth info as opposed to the actual context. Mapping a username to an auth info name is a stretch, but it happens all the time. Yeah. let's go look at context here for a second. So each context has an auth info section, and that auth info section is the name of a user. So we have to look up what that is. So an auth info has all this shit in it. And impersonate UID, damn. Username, there we go. Password is the password basic authentication. Nope, that's not it. No, so Vim RC, but I'm lazy. The PC is on my desk. Yeah, absolutely. Take mine. I mean, that's the point. It's in my dot file. Yeah, I share Vim RCs all the time with people. That's how I got mine. So an auth info, we have to go back. So an auth info is mapped to a string. What I'm trying to decide is this. I'm trying to get the username from the current context. What does that mean? So that means that if I config, right? Config to tilde.kubeconfig. I'm gonna go grab it. So there we go. So the question is, if I have a context, can I assume that the namespace is the name of the user? That is a business rule that applies to my specific cluster configuration of work and not to the average user. There are many business specific things that are in my kubectl-login plugin. For example, using owner resource password auth, which is, deprecated, that without using the web one. Assuming that the namespace is of a context is always going to be the name of the user. These are assumptions that are specific to my work, even though I'm publishing that and I'm testing this, for myself. They're pretty common practices, so it's not like it's a bad thing. But that means that implying that the name of the user is the context for the current cluster. So that would be cluster. We don't have a current, actually, do we? Do we have a current? Do we have a current? We do. Okay, so current is the name of the current context. So yeah, so that would be current. Not has context and has cluster. Go ahead and get the user. If not has context, what we need to do, so basically, if it gets this far, we need to say if has context and does not have the cluster. I didn't know about, yeah. So we're gonna go through VimRC next week. By the way, if you wanna a line by line analysis next week on 11 o'clock on Saturday Eastern time, we're gonna go through line by line my VimRC. So if you want to go through that, you can give me ideas if you want. So the problem here is that if we have a cluster and we don't have a context, we have another situation where we have a context and we have a cluster. I mean, the logic here is kind of lame, but We really don't want to do this unless we have a context. If we have both, then we can infer the context. So I'm just going to put that in there like that. Why is that not resolving? All right. So if we have a context and we have a cluster, then the user equals the context current dot namespace. Right, assuming it has a user. Oh, wait. Context dot namespace. I mean, that's very explicit, right? I think we're going to get this. We're very close. OIDC issue URL undefined. Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm going to have to fix all of that stuff. Yeah, I got to fix all that because now it's grabbing it from... The context is now grabbing from a different place. Cluster OIDC URL, right? So... yeah, because I grabbed the clusters. I'm grabbing the clusters. I'm grabbing clusters from conf cluster. Actually, I don't want to grab clusters. No, fuck that. No, we don't want to do that. We want to do internal. Oh shit. Clusters dot map. That's what we want. That's much better. Much better. Okay, so user declared not used. What the hell? User equals user. User. Context namespace. This should be user. Password. This should be cluster.name, cluster API server URL search, context name, user is user, context namespace, run out, kubectl set context name. I mean, that should be context plus auth info, assuming we have a context, right? The problem is that we may not have had one, so we have to create one. So this actually does need to be user. Cluster name, context name. And this is probably cluster name. Yeah, we don't want context name here. We want cluster name. I know it's stupid, but it's a specific change that we do. Hey, late night. All this is on YT, yeah. Yeah, next week's going to be on YT, of course, too, yeah. And then we're going to use the namespace. It's going to be users, so we don't need a cluster here. That's the important part. Is so if there's not a cluster defined above, it's not going to blow up because there is none. We always have a cluster, though. We always have that. Set context. I'm trying to decide if they could log into something else besides what we have here. This kind of, I think this might need to be a conditional, actually. If they're trying to set a cluster that we already have a name for, then do it. Otherwise, we should not build a context. Only do this. Yeah, we need an if statement here. If yeah. And we only want to do this if there's a cluster. Yeah. So if has cluster, all right. We don't want to do that. Otherwise, we don't want to do that. Use context. We always want to do the use the current context though. Now that would only be if we had a context though. Now see, this is the problem. So before we generated a new context, right? And we don't do that anymore. Now we just prompt it for user. We're not making a new context. So this could be nil all the way down here. So we can't refer to context on anything. Use context. I mean, otherwise it's if we have a context and we use the context name, then use the cluster.name. No matter what, we're only going to use the cluster names. Yeah. This is so weird, but this is actually what it needs to be. Yeah. We can't log into other stuff besides the stuff that's in the cluster. But the problem is what happens if we don't have a cluster. If we don't have a cluster, do we make a new one? I don't think we do. Yep. Damn, there's like a lot of stuff we do that assumes we have a cluster name. What we need to do is we need to fail if one of the options is not a cluster. We need to, earlier on, we need to fail if it's not a cluster. Yep. So I mean, what if they added a context and the cluster of that context, they had a customized context name, but the cluster was one of the supported clusters. And then we should support it, right? So I gotta write that out. If similarly only support clusters .map. So if context, if the cluster of a given context is included, allow even if name of the context does not match the cluster name. This is the part that I need to add that's not been in there ever. what we need to do is we need to get the cluster from the context and then see if it's supported. And that is the thing here to do. Fetch the cluster name. From the current context. There's a bunch of other logic that has to happen here that I really have to think about, maybe when I'm not drunk. Which is last there. That was the thing, preventing truncated yanks. Yeah. Did you look at the Vim? You looked at the Vim. Oh, you found the Vim RC that has prevented truncated yanks. Have you ever actually done that? That's the only way I've ever actually lost data by doing Vim. Is depending on the paste buffer that's built into Vim. And you only do that once. I was working on code that had not been git committed, and I wanted to transfer it to a new file, and I copied it out, and it truncated my buffer, and I lost everything. And there's a lot of people that don't know about that. That's in my Vim RC. We're going to talk about that next week. Anybody who's gone through that once knows the pain of that. Once you do that, you never, ever, ever trust Vim buffers again. You'll start to use, you shouldn't be doing it anyway, right? Because that is only a Vimism. What you really should be doing, and that's when I made PPP and YYY. These are command line tools. So for example, watch, I have this. If I want to send all the rest of my program to save it, I do this. I type YYY or DDD, and it deletes all the code, right? And then I go over here and I type bang bang PPP, and it grabs it and it saves it to a file, which is an infinite length buffer that will never fail me. So we're going to talk about that next week. We're going to talk about YYY and PPP and these additional little commands you can make for yourself that will save you from Vim's failures. In the meantime, though, you can set your Vim RC properly so that you don't get truncated buffers, which is so horrible when you have that happen. I lost like a day's worth of work because of that shit. We'll talk about it. I need another beer. Anyway, so context says I think I need to review this. I need to come back to this fresh tomorrow. We need to rethink the entire logic of this, because there are flaws in the assumption about what current means. So what I want to know is, so there's actually a really big problem. I'm going to write it as an issue. Current is wrongly assumed to match cluster. So when doing a clog and sum should support the context sum no matter where it is, so long as it contains a cluster that is supported. This is a really huge failure in the program right now. The program assumes that the context name is going to match the cluster name. And the reason that is a fail is because you may have 3 or 4 contexts that all use the same cluster that have different names and different namespaces. So let's say that you want to be logged into, you want to be able to switch back and forth between 2 different namespaces, right? So you should be able to do kconfig use context, prod me, prod team or something, and team is accessing using a different namespace. And so setting up context with different namespaces against the same cluster, which you already have the information to do an OIDC password grant against, is valid. And the current tool does not support that. And that is a fundamental flaw that I'm going to have to address by basically chucking all the code that's in it and doing it right. So again, it's yet another thing that I needed to. I knew the logic was kind of messed up, but we're kind of being forced to do this properly now because we're using the official API.config object from the client CMD API, which is the same used by kubectl, as opposed to our own structs, which allowed us to cross the streams and do it wrongly before. So we need to regroup and come back at this. I'm going to go ahead and let this go for now and come back at it fresh, and we'll do that tomorrow. So because I mean I'm past my Balmer peak. I'm going to make a mistake here. I don't want to screw the code up anymore. We have done a number of productive things today, but we do need to have that. We definitely need to have fetch the cluster name for the current context. This is super important, and that's going to completely change the logic of this. Once again, this means that the kubectl-login plugin is going to be very robust. It will actually work with anybody, assuming certain things. In fact, I need to update the assumption. Only supports deprecated password grant flow. Only associated assigned by CA host. Assumes Kubernetes API. Allows multiple contexts as so long as cluster is one of hard-coded. So we're going to hard-code a cluster, but we want to support multiple contexts. That's actually really important. And we could say this. We could say properly resolves kube config as using default same default rules as kubectl. This is the extra mile that I'm going on the weekend to make this code work. This is not something that I'm actually going to charge for, obviously. This is just the way I believe it should be done. And so I'm spending a little bit of my own time doing this, cleaning it up. Even though these changes will end up landing in my production code that I'm getting paid for. So that is all I'm going to do for today. I'm going to go take a break, pretty extended break. And if I come back, it'll be to play Witcher or to bike or something. But I am looking to do a big, long bike trip tomorrow. I still haven't decided if I'm going to take you with me on it. It's going to be a long one. It'll be like a 5-hour one. And there'll be lots of like downtime. So I don't know if you'll be able to survive. But that's tomorrow. So goodbye, YouTube. Hopefully this was fun for you.